One of these things is not like the others. One of these things doesn't belong. Can you tell which thing is not like the other by the time I finish this song?
Welcome to Galactic Initiative. I'm your host, Jeff. Acting is pretending. In most cases, audiences would have been disappointed with the lives of leading men, because leading men didn't meet the standards of their roles. They weren't as strong, smart, and self-assured as their characters. Alcoholism, infidelity, domestic abuse, divorce. Peel back the curtain to discover the great and powerful Oz is just an illusion. The entertainment industry has sold a consummate version of manhood to paying customers from the beginning. Men pursued it and women desired it. Actors like Humphrey Bogart, John Wayne, and Sean Connery depicted rugged, imperturbable heroes, thereby developing male paradigms for generations of moviegoers. Were they inauthentic? No. Their personae had precedence. Screenwriters pulled them from history and literature. Kings, soldiers, pioneers, philosophers, rebels. The past supplied exemplars in abundance. Keep in mind, men and women have shown these capabilities throughout human existence. I won't suggest or defend any exclusions here. Over time, new actors took their cues from old actors. They emulated their childhood idols when they became stars, and viewers were inspired, amused, excited. The best of man, the bravery, the chivalry, the composure. The defining characteristics were transmitted via celluloid. Contemporary entertainment features an entirely different take on manliness. In the 1960s and 1970s, vulnerable leading men surfaced. Think Woody Allen, Dustin Hoffman, and Richard Dreyfuss. Though they weren't aspirational or attractive, they were charismatic. The relatable everyman contrasted with the role model. In the 1990s, so-called progressives from the 60s and 70s molds began subverting masculinity as both a historical and entertainment construct. In the 2000s, under the guise of equity, bitter feminists and effeminate men seek to discredit and eliminate toxic male heroes, aka all male heroes. Intersectionality, air quotes, explains history with grievances, including the privilege of men who hindered women. Its acolytes attempt to correct perceived injustices by diminishing men, because nothing encourages tolerance and equity like discrimination. Now would be a good time for a summary of intersectionality. In the 1980s, activist Kimberlé Crenshaw, a leading developer of critical race theory, or CRT, contrived intersectionality to describe discrimination against African American women due to racism and sexism. Intersectional theory asserts that systems of power reward or oppress individuals based on their physical characteristics and/or sexual preferences. These systems perpetuate forms of discrimination, such as racism, sexism, and classism, to disadvantage people with unfavorable or undesirable identities. Crenshaw assisted the legal team that represented Anita Hill during Clarence Thomas's confirmation hearings, and wrote Race and Gender Discrimination for the United Nations World Conference Against Racism. She is a professor of law at UCLA and Columbia University.
Now I know!
And knowing is half the battle.
From the United Nations Intersectionality Resource Guide, quote,
"It is crucial to design programs and policies that effectively address not only discrimination based on disability, but the situation of those affected by all forms of compounded and intersecting forms of discrimination."
Unquote. Did you enjoy the word salad? Ready for the payoff. Quote,
"This does not require an add and stir approach, but rather a full shift in mindset, one that is willing to sit with the discomfort that comes with exploring the relational nature of power and discrimination."
Unquote. I'm just a simple man trying to make my way in the universe, but I noticed a few underlying principles. First, discrimination, the unjust or prejudicial treatment of different categories of people, is ubiquitous. Intent is implied. Second, discrimination should be addressed with a radical, uncomfortable approach. Just rip off the bandage. I don't agree with either of these assumptions. Discrimination at the root of inequity is a massive oversimplification. Power is real. How is it achieved? Through discrimination? Occasionally. I'm not blind to discrimination. However, geography, culture, economics, and warfare are the driving forces of history. To understand inequity, examine the challenge of scarcity and the availability of productive resources. I humbly recommend 3 books on the subject from diverse perspectives: Guns, Germs, and Steel by Jared Diamond, Carnage and Culture by Victor Davis Hanson, and The Ascent of Money by Neil Ferguson. In them, you'll find explanations that surpass childish presumptions about discrimination. Like communism, intersectionality entices the disaffected and the coddled. Intersectionality relieves accountability from those who feel downtrodden, and it sells peace, love, and understanding to those with the luxury of comparative insulation. Hollywood executives and their retinues of theater kids are perfect targets. Sequestered arts and liberal arts majors whose utopian dreams can't be upset by trifles like diversity of experience and diversity of thought. Never let the facts get in the way of a good story, Twain quipped. The creatives can promote regression since, despite protests of victimization, they've established a zero-sum game in their echo chamber. One of intersectionality's worst elements is its thirst for revenge. We can have strong leading men and strong leading women. One mustn't fall for the other to rise. The conventional boundaries have been broken. To ensure female leads can depict a variety of interesting characters in projects with mass appeal, is it wise to practice exclusion or inclusion? The fourth wave's leading men are more sensitive and socially conscious, non-threatening unless they're signaling virtue to the like-minded from the safety of cyberspace. Think Mark Ruffalo, Joaquin Phoenix, and Pedro Pascal. They feign meekness, but they crave attention. From their celebrity pulpits, they assail the public with their judgments on everything from transgenderism to geopolitics. How many videos about the overexposure of Pedro Pascal appear in your notifications on a weekly basis? What do people want from leading men? Intelligence, honesty, confidence, strength, emotional stability, characteristics that today's screenwriters refuse to associate with half the population. But even if a script demanded them, these actors would deem such attributes problematic. Actors aren't characters. Acting is pretending, as I said a few minutes ago. Numerous modern actors can't or won't separate their identities from their parts. Worse, they endeavor to play sanitized doppelgangers of themselves, or theirselves, in the real world. While they babble about living on the right side of history, they rely on others to interpret history for them.
I want very much to live on the right side of history.
To spread knowledge rather than perpetuate ignorance, they should study history, logic, and dialectic. Their obsession with authenticity leads nowhere, because intersectionality elevates self over other. It aggrandizes subjective measures, like identity and feelings, and it devalues objective measures, like facts and norms. Authenticity, by definition, isn't subjectivity. But according to the doctrine of intersectionality, everyone who isn't happy is an oppressed snowflake. In light of the popular phrases your truth and your journey, how do 8 billion types of authenticity, all valid or legitimate, affect the concept of authenticity? When striving to be authentic, the fourth wave actors are being inauthentic. One can't be the change by brushing aside reality. The acolytes overestimate their relevance and bypass cognitive dissonance by disregarding or vilifying those outside the groupthink. Peel back the curtain to discover the great and powerful simp is a narcissist with delusions of grandeur. Same personal scandals as the good old days: alcoholism, infidelity, domestic abuse, etc. But effeminate, ephemeral roles in lieu of classic characters. I mentioned Pedro Pascal twice. He is a good actor who can assume certain masculine attributes. I present Din Djarin from The Mandalorian and Joel from The Last of Us as evidence. However, his initial persona is crumbling thanks to odd clothing and troubling behavior. Admittedly, social media and video phones weren't challenges for leading men in the past, but no one is forcing Pascal into bad decisions at the moment. He seems to welcome controversy. Perhaps he conflates controversy and attention, and perhaps he fancies himself a provocateur, a member of the avant-garde. based on his physical and performative identities, including the professions of intersectionality. Hollywood loves him. He never turns down a role or photo shoot. Studios have oversaturated theaters and streaming platforms with him. He has advanced beyond the point of absurd miscasting. I present General Acacius in Gladiator II and Reed Richards in The Fantastic Four as evidence. My advice: avoid projects that require mental gymnastics like updating, modernizing, and reimagining as justifications. I don't blame the man for earning money, but I question his beliefs and methods. Imagine Humphrey Bogart in this montage. Imagine John Wayne in this outfit. Imagine Sean Connery in this situation.
Your nails are awesome. So are yours.
Let's see your nails.
Oh, yes, of course.
They're very
like?
nice. Yeah, they're very beautiful. You're welcome.
Yes, public perceptions of masculinity change slightly with time, but Pascal isn't Bowie or Prince.
Game. Blouses.
He can't maintain credibility for parts like Joel while cavorting at the Last of Us rap party. Or dancing in an Apple iPod ad. And he spurned followers with his social media attacks on American voters, J.K. Rowling, and anyone else who doesn't bend the knee for
The message.
Did I contradict myself? I said acting is pretending. Well, Pascal exposes an obvious caveat. Can you accept this guy as this guy?
I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
Would you cast Mark Ruffalo as Judge Dredd? Me neither. Casting directors seek actors that accord with characters. Or at least, they once did. Appearance and chops aren't the only factors for consideration. The publicity enjoyed by today's celebrities is a double-edged sword. Pascal's awkwardness would have been an industry secret 30 years ago. Leading men of the previous century didn't have social media or 24-hour news cycles. Studios curated PR, and stars appreciated privacy. Now, stars seek engagement, and engagement often backfires. Intersectionality, attention-seeking behavior, obsession with authenticity, emotional immaturity, and muddied filters have torn open the wizard's curtain. Actors should be wary of social media and public appearances, and to the best of their abilities, they should separate their private lives from their professional interests. As for Pascal, his refugee backstory is dubious. Co-stars doubt his work ethic. He dresses like a non-binary pimp for red carpet events. He holds women's hands for emotional support. He preens, he struts, he poses, and he grouses. When will his Gilded Age come to an end? Can we skip the charades and speak plainly about a talented guy who became the center of his own universe? Raised by a child psychologist with family connections to the revolutionary left, and a fertility doctor who fled the US amid malpractice accusations. Educated in SoCal and New York City, guided by the falsehoods of intersectionality, and promoted by Hollywood's self-appointed activists. Pascal is Dustin Hoffman, not Clint Eastwood. He can wear a dress, film Tootsie, accumulate Oscar nominations, and improve his bottom line. But please, don't cast or market him as the pinnacle of masculinity. I think we need a break from Pascal mania. What do you think? What actor is your model for manliness? Is Pascal a contender or a pretender? Let me know with a comment. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Galactic Initiative needs your help. Check out the channel for all things Star Wars and a growing list of other IP.
Galactic Initiative is not authorized or endorsed by Lucasfilm Limited. The name Star Wars and all related materials are registered trademarks of Lucasfilm Limited, a subsidiary of the Walt Disney Company, all rights reserved. Galactic Initiative is a registered trademark, and other product and company names are trademarks of their respective holders. Use does not imply affiliation or endorsement.